Do you remember when European cars were works of art? When a Ferrari made your pulse rate, a Mercedes turned heads on the boulevard, and even a humble Peugeot had character? Well, those days are gone. Now we're surrounded by bloated SUVs, comically oversized grills, fake vents, and design choices that look like they were made by accountants, not artists. Now, it's not evolution, it's devolution. See, European car design is collapsing under its own arrogance, and buyers, well, they're noticing. A 2024 JD Power study revealed that two-thirds of potential buyers skip the European brands simply because they looked uninspired or unattractive. Now, this isn't just an opinion, it's a crisis. So just before you spend your hard-earned cash on another luxury badge, stay tuned because today we're exposing the 9 shocking reasons that European cars have become so really hideous and how it's destroying their sales worldwide. So, just before we take a deep dive, it is imperative you hit that like button and subscribe so that you get notified the minute we produce another game changing video that affects your future choice of car or SUV. And I promise you will appreciate it. So, buckle up and let's plunge straight in. So let's start with the real reason everything looks wrong. Well, they're not designed for you. That's why. See, European automakers have shifted their focus to China, and that's the world's largest and most lucrative market. China now buys over 28 million cars annually, and that's nearly double what Europe purchases. So you've got brands like BMW, Mercedes, and Volkswagen that aren't trying to impress Berlin, they're trying to impress Beijing. Design chiefs have openly admitted this. BMW's Adrian van Hooydonk confirmed their massive kidney grills were requested by Chinese dealers who believe that, well, size communicates prestige. The Mercedes EQS, well, it's a smooth blob-like design and it's popular in China because it's seen as futuristic and pure. European designers are literally told to please another culture's taste, a culture that wants chrome, size, and flash over elegance, proportion, and restraint. And the results? Well, cars that look ridiculous in Europe still sell in Shanghai. Volkswagen's internal design brief even leaked, saying that Tier 1 Chinese city appeal clearly takes priority over European market preferences. Now, that's a polite way of saying we'll sell ugly if it sells well overseas. On to point number 2. Well, automakers constantly blame safety laws for their ugly cars. They say things like, we can't make sleek hoods or sharp lines because of pedestrian safety. But here's the truth. Beautiful and compliant designs are absolutely possible if they're willing to spend the money. Cars like the Alpine A110, the Jaguar F-Type, and the Mazda MX-5, well, they all meet EU regulations, yet they still look stunning. So what's the real problem? Well, it's cost-cutting disguised as compliance. See, meeting safety laws elegantly requires expensive materials, complex hinge systems, and computer simulations, and that is engineering heavy, and automakers hate it. Now, while Ferrari spends €12,000 per car just to blend safety and style, Mercedes spends barely €1,200. So instead, they raise the hoods, they bulk up the bumpers, and they blame pedestrian impact laws. But the truth is, they could still make cars that look sleek and purposeful, but they'd rather pocket the profit and hide behind bureaucracy. They're not complying with safety, they're compromising on soul. Now let's cover fake vents, fake grills, and basically fake everything. Modern cars have become plastic lies on wheels. You see vents that don't vent, exhaust tips that don't exhaust, and grills that serve no purpose whatsoever. The new Audi S3 has 17 fake vents, and not a single one of them is functional. Now, designers admitted It was purely for sporty aesthetic balance. The translation? Cheap illusions. See, every fake vent saves roughly €45 in production and €12 in assembly. Now, if you multiply that by millions of cars, well, you start to see why integrity doesn't really pay. It's not just cost, it's psychology. Now, excuse me, automakers discovered fake aggression sells. People feel performance when they see vents, even if it's just molded plastic. A Munich university study revealed that owners who discovered fake design elements were 49% less likely to repurchase the same brand. And that's not just dissatisfaction, it's utter betrayal. You paid for craftsmanship and you got cosplay. So the only thing premium about it is the marketing. So next up, I want to cover the SUV plague. Now, the single biggest reason that every car looks the same, it's called the SUV epidemic. Over 73% of cars sold in Europe are now SUVs or crossovers, and it's the same recipe. High roof, thick pillars, big wheels, and the aerodynamic profile of a brick. And because they all share modular platforms, well, they all end up with the same silhouette. Volkswagen's MQB platform underpins everything from the Audi Q3 to the Skoda Karoq. Stellantis uses a single chassis for 16 different SUVs across 6 brands. Now that's like giving 6 painters the same canvas and expecting different art. The financial incentive is massive. SUVs deliver higher margins, cheaper development costs, and easier global appeal. But what they destroy in the process is diversity. Do you remember when the roads were filled with Alfa coupes, the Renault hatchbacks, and the Citroën convertibles? Now it's just a row of grey blobs. Design has been replaced by corporate efficiency, and trust me, it really shows. Now, if you step inside any modern European car, well, it feels less like a cockpit and more like a Best Buy showroom. Screens stretch across dashboards, replacing buttons, knobs, and craftsmanship. Now, Mercedes brags about its 56-inch hyperscreen. BMW's new interiors are basically curved OLED walls. Volkswagen went all in on haptic controls that nobody likes. Why? Well, because it's cheaper. See, a single touchscreen replaces dozens of switches and wiring harnesses. The savings? €340 a car. But the trade-off, sadly, is tragic. Physical controls offer intuition, but touchscreen demands attention and, according to Euro NCAP, they increase driver distraction by 57%. Now, this obsession isn't about technology, it's all about image. Chinese and younger markets equate screen size with sophistication. So European manufacturers keep doubling down, even though it makes driving worse. See, you're not sitting in a car anymore, you're trapped inside a laggy iPad 6. Now, next up, I wonder, do you remember when you could spot a BMW, Mercedes, or an Alfa Romeo from a mile away? Well, not anymore. Global platform sharing has murdered individuality. So the BMW Hofmeister kink, muted. The Mercedes 3-box elegance, gone. Citroen's playful French quirkiness, now replaced with bland minimalism. So this isn't a creative failure, it's deliberate. Maintaining unique styling across markets costs 23% more in design and tooling. So automakers standardize their looks. Now remove the badges and hey, almost everything can be anything. Grey, generic, soulless blobs just rolling off global production lines. Now, distinctiveness used to be the heart of European design, but now it's been optimized out of all existence, all in the name of efficiency. Now, I will admit that some regulations genuinely make beauty harder. Daytime running light laws gave us those hideous LED eyebrows. Pedestrian safety rules created blunt noses. And sensor clusters, radars, and camera pods, well, they stick out like acne. But here's what makes it worse. Regulators never considered aesthetics. Their rule books measure impact zones, not inspiration. So the Alfa Giulia's iconic triangular grille had to be butchered for license plate mounts. The Toyota Supra's perfect nose was ruined by a mandatory front place slot. So every decade brings a new design killing mandate. Even aerodynamic regulations choke creativity. Now, excuse me, cars need drag coefficients below 0.030, forcing identical teardrop shapes. The result? Every car is aerodynamic, but sadly also anonymous. See, we've traded style for spreadsheets, and it's making the roads depressing. Now, moving forward, it's important to note that electric vehicles were supposed to free designers, not enslave them. No engines, no radiators, no limits, but instead, automakers made them uglier than ever. Now, they call it futuristic, but I call it soulless. So, for instance, the BMW iX looks like a concept car from a nightmare. The Mercedes EQE resembles a melted bar of soap. EV platforms naturally sit higher due to battery packs that distort proportions. But instead of engineering around it, automakers exaggerate the bulk. They think weird equals innovative. Porsche and Genesis prove otherwise. Both design EVs that look elegant, timeless, and familiar without any of the gimmicks. But most brands deliberately make their EVs alien looking to justify the premium prices. See, if an electric Golf looked exactly like a normal Golf, well, who'd pay €10,000 more? So what they do is they slap on plastic panels and they call it progress. They really think ugly sells better when you call it the future. Now, here's my final point, but to me, it's one of the most important. Accountants ended up killing the artist. See, every ugly design that you see, somewhere an accountant approved it. Curved glass, too costly. Real metal trim, that's 8 times the price of chrome plastic. Interesting door handles, that's €140 extra per car. Designers pour their hearts into concept cars, but by the time production hits, it's been watered down by committees and cost spreadsheets. Citroën designers have admitted they're ashamed of their production cars. One said, "We create beauty, then management murders it." You see, today, power belongs to finance teams and focus groups. Beautiful details get stripped away and they're replaced with generic parts that fit every model in the lineup. Artistic courage has been replaced by financial compliance, and it shows on every street corner. So here's the conclusion and the ugly truth. By the way, that pun was fully intended. Automakers aren't solely to blame. You see, we are. Consumers keep choosing convenience over character, practicality over passion, and profit over beauty. SUVs currently outsell sedans 100 to 1. Grey, white, and black outsell colours by 10 to 1. Now, we've told manufacturers loud and clear that mediocrity pays, but the fight isn't over. See, excuse me, brands like Mazda, Alpine, and Genesis, they all prove design and compliance can coexist. Every time you reward beauty, every colour you choose, every elegant car you buy, you're voting for artistry. Cars aren't just machines, they're cultural symbols. And when we accept ugliness, well, we accept a duller world. So next time you shop for a car, choose beauty, reward effort, reject lazy designs, because if we don't, we'll all be driving anonymous appliances, and that's a future that's too ugly to accept. So if you agree automotive beauty deserves saving, do me a favour, hit that like button, drop a comment and subscribe. Take care, my fellow lovers of beauty, and I'll see you guys on the next one.